On today's podcast, I'm joined by Claire Reddings from Keller Williams UK. We jump into what really separates top performing estate agents from the rest, how to build a sustainable business, not just sell houses, and why now is the perfect time to embrace AI. If you're serious about elevating your estate agency game, you do not want to miss this. Hope you enjoy the episode. If you're an estate agent that wants to stay ahead of the competition and to make more profits, then you need to talk to Iceberg Digital. Iceberg doesn't just sit alongside your CRM system, it replaces it. It's the UK's leading AI operating CRM system for estate agents, combining your CRM system, prospecting, marketing, website, and compliance all in one ecosystem. Your CRM system becomes fully automated, taking care of those repetitive tasks your team shouldn't be doing. Your prospecting runs 24/7, scanning the portals, capturing property addresses, matching them with your database, and sending them personal outreach faster than any human ever could. Your marketing is automatically written to match your tone of voice. Blogs, property descriptions, vendor updates, all done for you. And your website becomes AI driven, adapting to each visitor in real time and making your agency discoverable on Google and also on tools like ChatGPT. Agents across the UK are already using Iceberg to run a leaner, smarter, and more profitable business. Visit icebergdigital.co.uk and mention the Estate and Consultancy podcast when you book your demo to get an exclusive perk. Let's do it. Claire, welcome back to the podcast. You've now officially been upgraded to friend of the show. So welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
So I see you a lot on my social media feed, and I've met you many times at various events sort of thing, and I explained to you you're an absolute force of nature. So for anyone who hasn't come across the real force of nature at Keller Williams, who are you? How did you get into it? To give us the background on Claire Reddings.
Oh my goodness, I'll try and make it nice and short and sweet because I'm sure people don't want to fall asleep just yet. But yeah, so Claire Reddings, I am the market centre director for Keller Williams, which is now the national market centre for the UK. And I guess my role really is to coach and mentor our agents to success. So we are obviously a training company, we're a technology company. Ultimately, we're here to help people in their business from being independent on their own to then scale to whatever size that they want. So that's my job, is to look after, all of our agents and train our staff to do the same. How did I get into it? Well, I've been with KW now for about 7 years. Prior to that, I was running my brother and Graham Locke's business, which was House Network. So they pioneered the online sector back in 2003, 4, with the first ever online estate agency House Network. And I was heavily pregnant, straddling a fridge in Mark's garage while they went off to photograph a property in deepest, darkest Wales somewhere. And just stayed with them throughout that entire business, helped them scale it to having over 100 staff and selling 13,000 houses. So I cut my teeth in the business.
Sounds like very much jumping in the deep end, to say the least.
Absolutely that. Yeah, we learned a lot. I learned a lot. And yeah, very grateful for that time for sure.
So you work with many, many agents, to say the least. Every single day is probably video calls or in-person meetings with agents, obviously trying to kind of get the most for them. What do you see that the best agents are doing sort of really well that maybe the agents that aren't doing quite so well aren't doing necessarily?
Oh, it's a really good question. I think it's ultimately, I know it's boring and probably every person you ask this would say the same, but it's just the consistency. There isn't a one size fits all when it comes to lead generation and growing your brand and your business, because it really is dependent on the demographic and the area that you're in. That what somebody would do in central London would be very different to what somebody would do in a mining village in Doncaster, for example. So, you've got to know your market first of all. So all of our agents that are using, I don't know if you'll come across it, but the tool Experian Mosaic Portrait, uh, that's what we do. We sit with every agent, we look at their demographic using that tool, and determine the best lead gen activities for them to focus on that would help them to penetrate that market as quickly as possible and become the go-to person. And obviously, it's just a case of, once we've helped them build out their plan and how they're going to go and do that, because there's like obviously hundreds of different ways you can lead gen. You just got to pick the right handful to focus on. It's just consistency after that. It's just running the play. We'll help you build the plan. You just got to run the play.
I think you're Simon Ledbetter's favourite guest on the podcast, Rose. You mentioned Experian Mosaic already. We're only 5 minutes in and you've dropped that in there. So like his favourite place to go in the world is on the Experian website. So he'll be loving you to pieces mentioning that one. So
Oh, fantastic.
you've talked historically about estate agents needing to evolve and sort of modernise for sort of the modern world. What do you think most agents out there are sort of doing in a slightly old-fashioned way that kind of needs dragging slightly up to where we are today?
I think it's going for the low-hanging fruit. There's nothing wrong with going after on-the-market stock, targeting the obvious. Of course, that's gonna what that's gonna do is that's gonna bring you some sales. What it won't do is build you a business. And you know this, I'm sure, Chris, of course you do. It's about building that sustainability. It's getting known within your marketplace. It's making sure everybody's aware that you're the go-to for, their community when it comes to selling and letting properties. So I think what a lot of people are still doing is just going after the low hanging fruit. As I said, that's a good thing to do, but again, you've got to do it alongside the lead gen activities that are going to build your fame long term. So that's a mix of the prospecting and the marketing.
And I suppose it's kind of like old school business slash estate agency versus sort of new school estate agency. So the old school version, I would say, let's use door knocking, everyone's favorite sort of expression. You could just go door knocking every single day, and you probably have a fairly successful estate agency business if you're consistent at it. You're really good at it. But then obviously the day you stop is the day your phone stops ringing very quickly. So it's kind of like that's your one thing that is very much dependent on you. I think if you've got that sort of running to a point, but also you've got sort of a lead generation machine behind you, whether that's social media, YouTube, blogs, networking, whatever it may be, but at least you've got some leverage attached to that. You only ring on one doorbell at a time, whereas you can get in front of 10,000 people on a Instagram live, for example, and kind of get far more leverage for your business that way. And that can carry on without you.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you can kind of mix the two really well. So if door knocking is something that you do and you're happy to, burn the rubber off the soles of your shoes doing it, and nothing wrong with that, by the way, I think the important thing would be to make sure that you are, getting footage of you doing that whilst you're out and about, even sort of maybe even vlogging and the day in the life of a real estate agent. You can easily capture how hardworking you are as an agent and then using that as what you become. Maybe that becomes your profile, the hardest working agent in such and such, because you're vlogging as you go when you do these things. So you can kind of, if that really is your vein and it's the only thing you want to do, then just think about how you can get that out there so people see it and know that about you and then approach you as well. But for me, you've got that one thing you're great at, and maybe that is door knocking, but you've got to pad that out with a couple of other activities. And also, in as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to target on the market stock, and maybe the main thing that you do is the door knocking, is what's the follow up to that? You can't just if you've knocked that house 3 or 4 or 5 times, I wouldn't stop basically until they've told me to go away. But if you're knocking 3, 4, 5, 6 times, obviously they're not in. They're busy people. The times of day that you're going isn't working. So are you dropping handwritten notes afterwards? Are you sending letters to that property? Are you maybe doing a video, a Loom video of you talking about some of the changes that they could make to get a bit more interest in their property and dropping that through the door? So if targeting on the market stock is your main focus, great. But what's the follow up? What's the plan?
And I guess it's about finding that medium that works, not necessarily for you, because obviously, as an agent, obviously you'll follow the route of least resistance, but it's more kind of what works for your clients. So you might go, "Oh, I love door knocking. It's my favorite thing to do, and I love being in the fresh air and listening to a podcast when I'm walking around." But actually, if your client on the other side of that door goes, "Actually, I hate people knocking on my front door," but you're the only person, you're that's all you do. You kind of need to explore it slightly and sort of leverage out and gradually. Can I find these guys on Instagram and send them a DM, for example? Can I drop a note to the door? Can I send a QR code with a personalized video? What works for them? And literally is that what works for them. It doesn't matter what works for you, it's what works for the client on the other side of that door.
Exactly, and I think that's why Experian Mosaic is so important because, I mean, it's not obviously, um, it will paint a picture of the average person that lives in that area, and it would tell you how much time do they spend online. If they're online all the time, then, go and find them where they are. They might well say in Experian Mosaic that actually they still like to communicate via the post, in which case then putting things through the door, letters, handwritten notes, direct mail would work really well. If they are people that are of a retired age and they are at home, then actually maybe they might not mind you knocking on the door as long as it's done in a non-intrusive way. But know your market before you decide what activities am I going to do.
Where do you stand on the agent with experience versus agent with no experience? So, for example, if I came to a Keller Williams and I said, "Oh, yeah, Claire, I've been a estate agent now for the last 10 years and I'm quite good at it. I want to go self-employed." Or if I came to you saying, "Claire, I've been, I don't know, working in a car garage for the last 10 years or so." Where's your kind of thoughts with regard to experience versus non-experience when it comes to kind of going self-employed?
Do you know what? I honestly, there's three. I've been doing this a long time now, and I've spoken to thousands of people. And there's only really three qualities that you need, I believe, to be a great realtor style agent. And I say realtor because it's relationship based, not transactional. So for me, it's you've got to be learning based. You've got to be someone that's prepared to follow a model, prepared to show up and take action. You can be the best estate agent in the world, the greatest lister ever. But if you've never run a business before, you've never built a business before, you never had to think about prospecting versus marketing, you're not great at content writing, or you're not, excellent at the design and creating newsletters, etc. I'm yet to find a single person that is great at every element of running a business and being an estate agent. So you've got to leverage some of that out anyway. But for me, you've got to be learning based, so prepared to learn what you need to learn to be who you need to become to have what you want. You've got to be somebody that is good with people and love people. I've had many estate agents, believe it or not, come to me, Chris, and say the reason why I want to go self-employed is because I want to deal with less people. It's like you're thinking all wrong. You're going to speak to more people than you've ever spoken to in your life because you've got to build a business that's going to sustain. And the third thing is you've got to be entrepreneurial. You've got to be someone that is prepared to put the work in and understand that you've got to be consistent and what you put in, you get out, etc. None of the things that I look for in somebody is somebody necessarily with estate agency experience. It's a bonus if you're that type of character and you've done estate agency before, you'll go quicker. There's no question about that. It's not so much to learn so far as the basics of being an estate agent. But as I mentioned, this is a very different model to the transactional high street model that people have been working in necessarily. So you've still got to be learning based. So I refuse to suggest that I should be in control of whether somebody is capable of doing this or not. Who am I to say whether somebody could be a fantastic real estate agent with no experience? As far as I'm concerned, everybody and all people are welcome, provided they've got those three qualities and they're prepared to follow a model.
And how do you shift agents' mindset? Because, from my point of view, there's two parts to having a successful business as a self-employed estate agent. And one part of it is being a really good agent, and that's, valuing properties, negotiation, doing the viewing, etc. But also there's the bigger picture around that, which is kind of running the estate agency, which is, the advertising, it's the blogs, it's the social media, it's the follow-up stuff. It's all kind of the nuts and bolts that allow you to be a great estate agent. How do you shift people's mindset from going, I'm just an estate agent. I just need to show up on time and be a really good valuer to actually more of a, you need to be more holistic in your sort of view of running a business.
That's a really, really great question. To be honest, it's partly why we started the happy model. And no plug here intended at all, but it's because actually you do have some people, some estate agents that actually that is the only part of the job that they want to do. And that's okay. So what models out there take care of the busyness in the business? What models will be doing their social media for them regularly and posting out for them? Which ones will do their anti-money laundering checks, their ID checks, their sales progression, all the bits that they don't want to do, which is why we created that brand, because that brand supplies all of our agents with any additional services that they want to leverage from the beginning because they don't want to do those things. And that's okay. If there's people like that, there's now an option for you. But ultimately, I would think that most people that want to become a self-employed estate agent is because they want to take back that control. And you only really have control over your business if you understand every element. And again, that comes down to learning and being learning based. So, there's that myth out there that Keller Williams is this model that, we're here to, you've got to show up on time. You've got to go show up to every single bit of training that we do. And, we're teaching you how to become an estate agent. We're not teaching you how to become a estate agent. Anybody that's already an estate agent looking to do this, you're already a great agent. I don't need to teach you how to suck eggs. But what I do need to do is help you in building a business that's going to sustain. And that means you have to understand things like marketing and content and what's got to go out regularly. And you've got to use systems that keep you, well, it keeps your processes systemized. At some stage, when you want to grow and break through that ceiling, you can't do that without leverage. So you've got to understand how systems work to keep you front of mind with people as well. So yeah, it's just having that deeper conversation to understand why are you getting into this in the first place? Where do you want to get to long term? And then helping them to understand, what they're going to need to learn along the way.
I had a video call this morning with an estate agency running for the last year or so, and they've just kind of signed up with ourselves to kind of start coaching them. And before I had the video call with them, I thought this person isn't a regular estate agent. Like their marketing's terrible, their social media's terrible, like the Google reviews of like nowhere to be seen sort of thing. I had a video call with them and they're like, I sign up everybody. I get an average fee of nearly 2% every single time. I list everything, I sell everything, I do rentals, my management fee is through the roof, my conversion rate's fantastic. And I was like, you are a 9 out of 10 estate agent. I was like, you are absolutely like, top drawer with regard to estate agency. But I was like, your estate agency around you support you is like 2 out of 10. I was like, you are literally like the fact you've got as good a file as you have and you've got a good a business you have by what you've got to start off with. I was like, 10 out of 10, like backhanded
Yeah.
compliment. You've got a terrible business, but you're doing really, really well with that terrible business. Think how good it could be if you actually had a better business around you, sort of thing. So it's so, so common.
That's it. That's it. And that's the thing. I think that's why you tap into certain models, and there's so many now to choose from, which is amazing. You've got all your options as to where you want to put your business and who you want to partner with. But it's just, what do I need the most help and support with? What don't I know yet, right? And it just making sure that wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, the support is there to help you long term.
So let's talk about the big thing on the horizon. I'm sure I should have a better word than thing there. The big event on the horizon. So you and Mark announced, I can't remember when it was, might have been your Christmas party event get together this year, that you are doing MegaCamp.
We are.
So as a man who's been called MegaCamp a few times, what is it all about?
Right. So look, Mega Camp is what it's called inside of Keller Williams, but ultimately what it is, it's an event that we're putting on. It's a 2-day event, and it's really about raising standards across the industry. That's what it is. That's why Mark and I got into this in the first place. The market is changing, the industry is changing super quickly as well. We can all see it, and like it or not, AI is developing so fast that I believe that the agents who will succeed in this business won't be the ones waiting to react to that. They'll be the ones that are planning and taking action now. So, this event isn't about sitting in the room and listening to the theory of it. What it's really about is we're going to talk about what's coming and what we expect the industry to be in a few years' time. But the real focus is the how. Simple, practical takeaways, actions that you can implement immediately into your business. And in some cases, leveraged or done for you solutions. There's a lot of people we've got some great speakers that are going to be coming and sharing some amazing tools with you. So we just want people to be able to leave that event and do something differently the very next day that's going to impact their business. Yes, technically it's a Keller event, like kind of, but actually for us it's much, much bigger than that. This isn't about excluding anybody. We're very much about being collaborative. Everyone talks about competition, but actually we've all got a responsibility to protect consumers. We've got a responsibility to improve the experience that they get. And that's why we're putting on the event that we're putting on. And that's why every one of the speakers reflect that. Going to hear from social media experts. We've spoken about it, obviously, why that's so important. Data and AI specialists, well, people that are using, some really great tools and sharing that along and sharing those with us. Give me some inspirational stuff in there as well. But ultimately, it's having a clear understanding of all of the economic forces that are shaping the market where we're, and we just want everybody better prepared, more confident, and just ready to work at a much higher standard straight away. So it's open to everyone, and that's how it always should be.
I think that's really good because I think that, the knee-jerk reaction, I imagine, when you kind of plan these events is like, "Oh, we'll do it just for our guys," sort of thing. It's gonna be just a Keller Williams thing, sort of thing, behind closed doors. But I guess you're only as sort of fast as your slowest person. So if you could drag up 90% of the industry to a really good level and it's, great service and, great fees, et cetera. But if there's 10% that are absolutely terrible still, you're only gonna be as fast and as good as those people. Because if they're in your chains or they're advertising or they're dealing with people or reputation, everyone's gonna look for the lowest hanging common denominator and go, "Bloody estate agents."
I know, but that's it, right? I mean, I don't tell people I'm an estate agent. When they say, "What do you do for a living?" I'm scared to say an estate agent because they'll think, "Oh, aren't we something like the second most hated profession in the UK?" I would think we're just behind the tax man, I think. Politicians apparently have got a better name than us. That's horrible. I always say I'm a real estate agent. They say, "Well, what's that?" And then I can kind of explain the difference. But no, we've got to improve the reputation of our industry. And there's so many amazing estate agents out there. That's clear because a lot of people are moving into the self-employed model now because they want to do things differently. They want to provide a better service. But AI is here, right? We can't ignore it. I hate technology, as you know. I'm terrible with it, but you've got to embrace it because I honestly believe that that any estate agent that doesn't embrace AI and start using it within their business model, pretty quickly, you won't be here in 18 months. So it's we've got to start working on that right now.
It was funny. I was chatting to someone about 2 weeks ago, and I just dropped a comment about ChatGPT. I just said, "Oh yeah, yeah, you can look that up on ChatGPT, sort of thing." And they turned around to me and said, "What's ChatGPT?" And I was like, "Oh, you have got some like you need to do some learning like really, really quick." And I see it as a wave coming to the industry, and you've got two options: you either kind of paddle out against the wave, and it can get really, really hard and really choppy really quickly, or you actually kind of turn around and sort of ride that wave and go, actually, I'm just going to embrace it, go with it, and sort of, your business will be so much quicker and more efficient off the back of it. I mean, I could never, never, never do the amount of content and the blogs and the websites and all these things without it. Like
Yeah.
even the thought now, I was chatting to a client today about outsourcing their time and kind of buying some time out for themselves. And I was like, I used to spend half an hour typing up my notes after every video call. I was like, right now we're being recorded by ChatGPT. And after this, as soon as I press hang up, it's going to type my notes up in a nice email. I'm going to copy and paste that into my email account and press send. And I said to them literally, it's so efficient. I'm going to put a scheduled delay on that email for an hour so it doesn't look like I've typed it up too quickly. So, yeah, I think that the amount of time you can buy back, you're absolutely right. If you don't kind of get on board with it quickly, you'll be like, how the bloody hell is everyone's doing this and I'm still trying to do one post a week?
Well, this is it. I mean, a lot of the agents that have joined us that were working in branch previously, part of the reason was they just could not get the whoever was running that particular independent office to get on board with some of the things that needed to change. They wouldn't bring in new systems, they wouldn't use certain tools, etc. And I guarantee you, they're not going to be here anymore if they don't look at this. And it scares the life out of me. I don't like all this stuff. I'm very much a people person. I'm not technology person, but even I know what ChatGPT and I utilize it to save me as much time possible. But that's why those types of people are going to be in the room and on stage, and that's why it has to be open to everyone. We want to see the independent real estate model thrive, and therefore, we all need to collaborate and work together. There's no competition here, as far as I'm concerned.
So I take my hat off to anybody who organizes any event in the estate agency world or outside of that, because Claire, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say this. You put all this work into, you go and see venues, you put down money, deposits, all these bits and pieces going forward. It's a lot of work, effort, tears, stress, etc. And then you're like, come on, guys, let's get some tickets. And you're like, come on, oh, guys, look, I've organised this amazing event for you. Come out your house and come to this amazing event. I would say that with any event you ever do, I always feel the same way. I think 2 or 3 days before, I think to myself, what have I done? Why have I done this? Why do I put myself through this pain and this torment and this stress and hairline and whatever else it might be? As soon as it finishes, I'm like, I should do one of these every day. Like it is just a
Yeah.
complete sort of mindset. Why is it important, do you think, in 2026, make sure I get the year right, why is it important in a more and more digital age to actually be able to put down tools and just come together in a room and just talk to normal people who are normal estate agents around the UK? Why is that important in digital age?
I just think, we're 100 mile an hour all the time. Sometimes you just cannot see what it is that you need to do inside your business to take the next stage because you're so caught up in the busyness of the business all the time. And you've got to take that time out, go into a room of other people that are sharing great ideas. It's a great culture that we've created. They're sharing great ideas. It gives you a moment to sit back and go, do you know what? I was doing that and I stopped doing that. Why did I stop doing that? I need to get back on that again. Listening to people sharing ideas around social media and how you use AI to benefit your business long term. You're going to walk out of those 2 days going, I can take at least three or four things from this and put it straight into my business immediately. And one, save myself time, as you quite rightly mentioned, but two, push my business on if that's what you're looking to do. And in some cases, save my business because it's a struggle out there for some right now. We've got rising costs with everything as well. It's tough. More and more people coming into the space as well. So you've got to take time out from your business to be able to really look at it from above. And this would be the time to do that.
I always find annoying is the wrong word, but obviously, whenever we do events, we offer feedback afterwards. They get sent a Google form afterwards saying, "Look, what did you like? What did you not like? Rate Chris's chat, rate Rachel's chat, sort of thing, out of 10, and what do you think of the lunch and venue, sort of thing." And although wherever possible, I roll out the red carpet for lunch and for speakers and for the event and the hall, sort of thing. The feedback that always comes back, everyone's like, "I enjoyed the networking. I enjoyed meeting other agents. I enjoyed chatting to the agents." I'm like, "That's the one bit I didn't organize." Like, everything else that I really put loads of work into, just the agents turning up and talking to each other, I didn't organise at all. That's always got the best feedback.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's always for me, it's always the panels that we put on where you've got obviously people that are doing exactly what you're doing, sharing great ideas and a lot of people get a lot from that, where it's just like a free flow conversation and absolutely the networking. So there's a lot of networking opportunities throughout. As you know, we've got Phil M. Jones from Exactly What to Say. He's going to be spending the entire 2 days with us. On the evening of the 16th, so which is the end of the very first day, we've got a party as well. So there's going to be a party where everybody's in the room, just mix, few drinks, nibbles, etc. Phil will be there signing books and things as well if you want to. So that just makes it a more sort of extended version of networking for everybody as well as all of the breakout sessions that we'll have where you can connect with people on a deeper level. But we've tried to get the balance right with everything. As you said, we'll ask for feedback afterwards, but it's something that will 100% be an event. We've also got a lot of international agents coming over, so people from America, from Portugal, from Cyprus, etc., where they're sharing, their experiences, especially in like the luxury market for London and things like that as well. So there'll be some great people to connect with and speak to and understand how it works in their market and see how you might be able to translate that to yours.
And I personally think that, when I talk to clients, let's use social media as an example here, and I say, let's look online about what kind of content you like, what you think can resonate with. I'd always say to clients, look over at America. I was like, look at America and look at the realtors over there about what content they are doing over there. That is kind of the point of the spear. I say the videos you see over there, give it a couple of weeks and it will start coming over the other side of the Atlantic. People start copying it and sort of ripping it off sort of thing. But that's the heart of it. And I think that's probably a lot of things with regard to service and socials and marketing, etc. America is sort of very forward facing on that sort of thing. So if you've got people coming from the US who you can sit next to in the event and say, so what's working for you then? And they're like, right, strap yourself in. This is what I do. And you're like, great, thanks very much.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got a couple of great people coming over. I mean, I'm flying out to Atlanta actually next Thursday for the family reunion in Atlanta for 5 days. And I've met so many amazing people while I'm out there. But one of the ladies is a fantastic lady called Lombardo, and she's Gary Keller's top 100. So you bear in mind there's 212,000 estate agents inside of Keller Williams. She's in the top 100. And she's been on stage with him multiple times. And she built her business through very much community. So it's just what does she do inside the community to build her fame? And she started with like literally no budget at all. She would tap into somebody else's event. We're talking about event, and she'd tap into someone else's event that had already been arranged, but she'd maybe provide something for it. She'd elevate that event for them. How can I make your event easier? How can I make it better? What can I contribute to it? So she would do things like that and obviously get known throughout the community as somebody that was helping to do that. So she shares literally everything from the ground up, from no budget at all to now, obviously a millionaire as she is now, what she's doing now to push the business on further. So she'll be in the room and she's so, I mean, everybody is so giving. Like there's nobody holds back. It is an environment where everybody wants you to win. So everybody's sharing what's working. But that's just one example of one of the ladies that's flying over.
Yeah, I think isn't the expression something like, a wise man learns from their mistakes, a really wise man learns from other people's mistakes, sort of thing. So if you can sit down with someone and they're like, actually, I'm going to save you 3 years of your life here, working out this doesn't work. You need to do it this way instead, sort of thing, to get a better result. You can literally save years and thousands of pounds for that 2 minute chat.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I will sort of caveat that with saying it does depend on the demographic, right? So you've got to have the conversation to see does her demographic sound like mine? Is it quite a community area that I live in? Would that work where I am? Because what works for one won't necessarily work for another. But again, having said that, I believe any form of lead generation will work if you do the work. If you're doing it consistently, it pays off. My nephew, Luke, he had no real estate experience at all. He's coming into Keller Williams as a young man. He was 23, he's now 25. No, like, nobody in his phone that might be selling property. They're all too young. And he's coming in as my nephew and Mark's son. So there's a lot of pressure on him because if it doesn't work, like, oh dear, even that Bear's nephew can't make it work and she's coaching him. So he probably felt that pressure. Obviously, that was not from us. But he did what it said on the tin. There's a blueprint that we map out. We sit down, we look at your demographic, we look at the competition. What are they doing? We help to build out a business plan of lead generation business plan based on that demographic and what we believe will penetrate that area the soonest and get you known so that people start coming to you. You're not having to work so hard. And he ran the play. He did what he needed to do. Did he have wobbles along the way? Absolutely. Did I have to pick him up and dust him off and say, keep going, trust me, it's going to come good? Absolutely, I did. But he's absolutely flying now. We literally had a conversation a few days ago, and he just said, like, I've got like 8 valuations to go on in the next few days. I've got 3 photo shoots in one day tomorrow. And this is all happening because he just stuck to the plan. So it's consistency. It's knowing your market well enough. It's choosing what you enjoy doing as well. Because if you hate door knocking, don't do it. Don't do it. The person on the other side of the door is going to hate it as much as you are because you're uncomfortable. So you've got to choose what works for my personality, what's going to work for the demographic, and trust the process and go all in.
I love that. So last question, if that's okay. I've got 2 questions.
Yes.
One's a quick question, which I'll ask you at the end. So looking ahead then, what excites you most about the future of estate agency from here?
Oh, well, I mean, we can see the trajectory, I think, can't we? I'm really proud of myself that I said that word without stumbling. I always get stuck on that. I think we can see where it's going. I really do believe that we're probably going to get to a point where there might be, 30 to 40% of the industry that will all be self-employed. I don't think it'd be too long before we get there either. And because of that, what excites me about it is that the consumer experience. When you're dealing with somebody that's working with fewer properties because they don't need to sell hundreds because they're earning a majority of the fee, they've got more time. They've got more time to manage the whole process. They've got more time to help you in finding the property that you want to move into, in managing that whole process from start to finish. So it doesn't need to be so damn stressful moving home. It doesn't need to be. You've got people managing your expectations that care about the result at the end. So that's what I'm excited about, that we are on that road to changing the reputation and the industry for good.
Excellent. And the final question, I'm going to put you on the spot now. When and where is MegaCamp? Where does one go to buy tickets? Where do we? What dates is it? What's the plan there?
Okay, so it's the 16th and 17th of April. It is at the QE2 Conference Centre in Westminster, just overlooking Westminster Abbey, which is beautiful. But where can you go for tickets? It's all over my social media. I'm sure you might share it on with this podcast if I give you a link as well, which would be amazing. You can go onto the Keller Williams UK LinkedIn page, and it's on there as well. Or you can just hit me up, send me a DM, and I'll send you all the info.
There we go. Well, I'll make everyone's life even easier. Well, I'll put a link just below this, and everyone just click on there, make it nice and easy. Everyone involved with it. So,
Thank
thank
you,
you
sir.
so much for coming on today. You've been an absolute superstar. We'll have to have you again on in the future. Obviously, we'll have to do a debrief after Mega Camp in a few months' time. So, thank you so much for coming on.